Welcome to the Rock Music Alliance interview sessions. I'm your host, Cole Coleman, along with Claudio Pesavento, keyboardist from Mahogany Rush and the Chris Squire Band. On our show today, you know his bass playing from working with some of the biggest names in rock, like David Coverdale, Thin Lizzy, John Sykes, Neil Schon, Ted Nugent, the Dead Daisies, and much, much more. Welcome to our show, Marco Mendoza.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, Cole. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, Claudio. Hello, everybody.
Hola, hola, amigo.
Hola, ¿cómo están?
Hey, so Marco,
Yeah.
let's talk about your latest release. What's it called, and when was it released, and what's it like, style-wise?
I get asked that question a lot, and for the lack of better terms, it's rock and roll. In my mind, and I'm not complaining. That's what it is. It's the industry, but we started labeling things a few years back. I grew up, my first album was Abbey Road, and for me, that was rock and roll, and the Stones, that was rock and roll, and even, Pink Floyd and King Crimson. Yes, to me, that was rock and roll. They had pop songs on the radio and all that. So anyway, so I would throw it in that category, and it's rock and roll. It's straight ahead, nothing complicated about it. We're trying to focus on songwriting, hooks, and make it more available for the audience, for people, the fans, to hear the song, and maybe we can deliver something memorable. You know what I mean? So it's rock and roll, man.
Right, I hear you.
For the lack of better terms, so we can get analytical and try to open that up, but we just went into the studio and wanted to write some songs and talk about some good topics. And I will say this: I always try to be as optimistic and uplifting and positive as possible. That's my walk in life,
Yeah,
So,
I wanted to mention, for the listeners, I've heard, plenty of your music, and it generally tends to be, very energetic and, like you say, uplifting. It definitely it raises your energy by listening to it.
awesome. So talking about that, the title is New Direction. The original title was going to be Take It to the Limit. This album was started back in 19. This is where the pandemic comes in and messes everything up, right? So back in 19, September of 19, I was starting another tour of Europe with a bunch of my solo dates, and we met up in Copenhagen. I worked with Soren Anderson, who's a great producer, excuse me, guitar player, singer, songwriter, everything, engineer. He's got so many talents, talented cat. And he was actually my first guitar player with my solo project, with Live for Tomorrow, which is a Frontiers release. But so we started in 19. I went ahead and finished my tour. So did he, and we met up at the beginning of December, and we looked at each other, and we decided, yeah, we're pretty fried. Let's just go home. This is how life is. Let's go home and reconvene in February of 20, exactly. And I remember, I'll never forget, my flight was February 27th. And so the rest is history. Obviously, couldn't fly out, couldn't do this. The pandemic kind of shut the world down. And so we made a few attempts at getting together and finish. I would say we were like 85, 90% done. And we wanted to address a couple of things. We had scratch vocals done by then. And so we wanted to address that, get some rest, and get on the vocal side of things. And so we tried in October of 20, I'm sorry. Didn't happen. We tried in April of 22. I'll never forget, 22. And then finally, I ended up getting out there in June of 22. As things would have it, we go there. We finish, and then I had a tour starting a few weeks later in the UK, and then continued the rest of Europe. And Prime Minister decided to extend the lockdown So the whole tour fell apart again. It's just been one of those, man. It's been a puzzle.
Yeah.
Freaky. So, but we finished the album. That's the point. That was your question. We finished in June, mixed it July, August, September was ready to roll, but didn't happen because the world was shut down pretty much. The label was considering releasing it in 2023, which would be this year. And what I did in 22, against all odds, against all advice, against everybody telling me, don't bother, don't bother, I started getting calls from agents and booking agents and managers and bands and venues and the whole thing saying, come, please come. We need you. We need music. We need to break this lull, if you want to call it. And I took it upon myself. I said, okay, let's go. So we went, and against all odds, and there was a few rough spots, but we did it. And what it did, it created a buzz. I started with 3 weeks of gigs. Actually, it was a show that it was left from 20, and it was a guitar and bass show in the UK. I went and did that, and then once I got over the Atlantic, all these other offers started coming in, like now, actually. So I ended up doing close to 80 shows in 22.
Wow, that's really
So
something. Yeah,
exactly.
still during the
So I'm
middle of it
having
all.
talks with the label, which is Mighty Target, and they're like, I don't know, man, let's not do anything until 23. So after doing like 30, 40, 60 shows, I called. I said, listen, there's a buzz out there. I'm out here on the road. Let's take advantage of that and release the album. They weren't too keen on it. And then finally I talked them into doing it September 16th of last year. So we released it, and it came out and it got some great reviews. People are digging the songs. The live shows are getting some great reviews. So which brings us back to 23 now. And I know that's a long answer, but
That's good to
that's
hear the
how it
story.
is
And
right now, man. We're like trying to pull things together. It's a puzzle, pretty much.
yeah, yeah.
And if
On
you let
the
it take you away, it will take you away, But
Well, it's good to hear you were out there. You
yeah,
braved the pandemic and got out there. That's something, man.
yeah,
On the new album, New Direction, are you the principal writer of the songs, or are you co-writing with people?
I'm co-writing. Every time I go and work with Soren, because Soren and I we have great chemistry, and I tell him that we come from the same tree, or same fruit. He's from Denmark and I'm from Mexico. I grew up in Tijuana. I'm in LA, been in LA for a long time. I'm a Southern California guy, but we love music, and we grew up with the same bands, and we're inspired by the same talent. And the thing we have in common is just we're very passionate about the whole process, writing, performing, the whole thing. So him and I have that in common. And when we get together, it's just like a couple of kids, man, in the cookie jar, and we just, oh, look, this is a great cookie. Let's look for another cookie. And it's like that, Cole. It's amazing. Within 30 minutes, we have, two, three, four ideas. It's the hardest thing for us to do is to focus. And that's where he comes in, because he's really good production wise. He's like, okay, we can go in so many directions. Let's just do this. Let's finish this. A to B to C. Let's get it down. And I'm scattered. I start an idea, and then another idea comes up, and
Yeah,
So
me too.
right, that's the hardest thing, man. So I have a great relationship with him. I've been one of those lucky guys, and I've worked with some great producers, in my career, and in different settings and all that. But him and I is just, we throw everything out, all the egos and all the agendas, personal or whatever endeavors, and we get in. It's about the song.
Right. Well, when you have
Let's
that
just
kind
get
of
the best music and the best
when
chemistry.
when you have that kind of synergy with somebody, I mean, it's very special. And yeah,
Yes.
people who are non-musicians may not really realize that. but amazingly enough, I mean, it's just sometimes you just really click with somebody and the music just starts to flow.
Exactly. And so I really appreciate that. And if I can help it, if there's another situation coming up for songwriting and producing another, we're talking about a few ideas now. But
Do you have to go to Copenhagen to do that? Or?
yeah, well, the situation there is one, like a lot of guys like us, we're scattered. I'm home now. I have kids. I was all morning, whatever. I was up late and I took my son to school, and we get busy. My wife and I get busy with the kids, and I have to go pick up my daughter's coming flying in from New York. So you're scattered. I gave up on having a little studio at home for the same reason. My kids were small, and every time I try to focus, and I had a little studio like you did, set up in one of the bedrooms here. And then my son was born and he took over. That was the nursery, and it became his room. And so I like to separate myself from the house so I can focus. And the thing with Medley Studios in Copenhagen is state-of-the-art studio. Anything and everything you can imagine is there. It's available like that. And he's part owner of the studio, so there's a lot of flexibility as far as hours and time. And so, yeah, it's worth it for me to fly there, focus. We work so fast, man.
Right. Now, I
And
wanted to ask about that. So Soren is co-writing. He's also producing and
playing.
Soren, and Soren Anderson, okay,
And
playing.
play guitar.
And he's also the co-owner of Medley Studios in Denmark, Copenhagen,
Yeah.
Denmark. So like Claudio was asking, we have the ability to record remotely. I mean, you could record from here, but you actually went to Copenhagen to record? Yeah, that's got to be great.
It is. The past couple of albums, we've done a lot of projects out of there, actually. And Soren ended up being, I'm a big fan and friend of Glenn Hughes, who ended up doing his time here with the Daisies. But one day, Glenn and I were at NAMM show, actually, at the Yamaha booth. We were signing, and he was talking to me. We were talking business, and I said, man, he says, so how's your solo thing doing? I said, well, it's a bit of a struggle, but I love it. I'm passion driven. I love the music. I love what I do on stage, and it's appreciated. So I'm getting a lot of invites. He says, what do? Do you fly your cats from LA? Or I said, well, out of necessity, I started finding out that there's a lot of cats everywhere on the other side of the pond. And I met up with Soren. I met him at the Music Messe Frankfurt, and then later on NAMM show. And he's just a brilliant guitar. He's a kind of guitar player that if you're walking by, you hear him play, you got to turn because he's got a lot to offer. And you go, whoa, he's great. And then come to find out, I met him, and he's a sweetheart, beautiful person, beautiful spirit, beautiful cat, talented as hell. And so we were talking, and he said, yeah, I have to fly my guys here and there, but if you have any suggestions, please pass them on. And I said, well, as a matter of fact, this guitar player, because I was busy with, I think the Daisies or the Lissy or whatever we're doing. It's hard to keep track, but as a matter of fact, I got a guy for you, man. And I said, Soren Anderson, he's out of Denmark, Copenhagen, and you're just going to love him, man. And as I'm talking to him, Glenn is right here, I'm here. And behind Glenn, I hear, Marco. And it was Soren. So it was meant to be. It was meant to happen.
Awesome.
And I said, speaking of, get over here. I introduced him. They exchanged numbers. And now he's become his guitar player.
Oh.
They're getting ready to go out again. But anyway, so he's one of those cats. He's a bit of an unsung hero, if you will. He's climbing up. But every time a writing situation comes up or production or anything, he will be on one of my top calls,
Terrific.
It's the new,
yeah,
it's the new Matt Lang,
huh?
It's the new Matt Lang.
He's man, if you look at his body of work, man, he's done a lot. And the thing with Soren, and he's very like me, we are style-wise, we're like, genre-wise, he's all over the place. He can go anywhere, multi-instrumentalist. And again, the thing with him, he has fun. He has a lot of fun in his studio. There's no stress, no pressure. We don't have any time constraints, which is great
That's great.
because that can be a big factor in kind of holding
Pressure.
things. Yeah. So that's what it is. So I'll put myself in his hands anytime. And
That's
we're
terrific.
thinking about writing songs for other artists because we have that uncanny thing where songs just pop out
Yeah,
with no effort.
yeah, I mean, write as much as you can while you're got the, while you have that energy flow happening. And yeah, other people could do your music,
Yeah.
so it's terrific. Yeah, I noticed on the album quite a few Danish looking names in the credits, So can you tell us about the players on New Direction and who's doing what?
Yes. The other thing that happens when you go there, Copenhagen is like a little bit of a center for Scandinavia, in my opinion, even more so. Well, Stockholm and Copenhagen. So, being that it's such a well-established studio and he a producer, he's got at his beck and call, man. He could just, he's got an old Rolodex, if you will, if you want to call it, at his beck and call. So, for the past, my first band when I toured Europe was all Danish players. It was Soren on guitar, Anders Bo was the second guitar player, and Morten Hellborn. And amazing cats, man. I fell in love with the playing, with the style, the whole thing, and they're great looking cats too, which helps a lot,
Yeah.
So the first 2, 3, 4 rows, however big the gig was, all the girls are great. But what's most important is their vibe, man, and their pros. They just grew up with that it's in their blood, They do a lot of homework, they prepare themselves. So I ended up using Morton. We end up using him as much as we can. And he just lives up the street from the studio. He calls him, got some tracks. Mendoza is here, coming, but it's that easy if he's available. I mean, he's also a busy cat now. He's doing a lot of big, huge gigs. So if we get lucky, we can organize it. Now, if he's not there, then we do our pre-production thing. We write the songs and all that, and then we work schedules out and come in and play.
So at the Bay Patero, you play all the new material. Last Sunday, you play all the stuff in there.
Yeah,
all the new stuff.
Yeah, I played 3 or 4 songs from a new album. Most of it comes from the first album, Live for Tomorrow, and Viva La Rock.
I like that song.
Oh, thank you, man.
I like that one.
Thank you. Again, that was a song, without exaggerating, guys, Cole and Claudio. We got it together. We were so ready to do it within half an hour. That's the vibe, the riff, the whole thing. It was like, God.
Yeah.
And the Viva La Rock came out of a saying I used to tell my friends, because I'm Latino, I speak Spanish as my first language. And, back a few years back, if you remember, guys, there was this thing about rock is dead, rock and roll is dead, it's over. and I know where it's coming from, meaning the industry, the recording part of it, the whole thing, the corporate side of it is over. But rock and roll is a state of mind. It's music.
It's the music,
the way I read it, because I'm in it. So I would always tell everybody, remember, man, Viva La Rock, long live rock and roll, in Spanish or French, whatever you want to call it. It's a mixture of everything. And that's something, it was like a glaring sign in the back of my brain that kept popping up. And the riff, Viva La Rock, like long live rock and roll. And the song was written.
Yeah, it's a great song. It seems to me like it has a real potential of becoming a real rock anthem, like a modern day rock anthem, and it just needs to be heard. I mean, it came out right before the pandemic, so it's like it just needs to be promoted a little bit more.
Yeah, all that stuff, and I'm in the middle of doing that, Cole. I'm trying to hook up, connect the dots with the right people. I'm trying to get the right team of people behind it. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this, because it all helps. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. It just needs to be heard. Well, I had this conversation. Go ahead.
There is such a Latino population in the United States, American Latino population, that just can't help but think it would be picked up. I mean, so many people, throughout the United States would just really relate to that song,
Yeah, we've been talking about, I was considering recording it in Spanish because a lot of these songs obviously can be translated and it'll work. The hook is the same. Keep the hook the same, but we'll see what happens. Right now, as much as I hate to admit it, and I accept it, and it's reality. I like to live in the real world. It's still a baby project. It's still at the beginning stages, and it's tough, Cole. I don't mind telling you. The pandemic didn't help, and the promoters and the agents out there have such a backlog of big brands, big bands, man, that they need to book, which is what's happening this year for me. They're still trying to make up shows from 20, 21, 22, bro. And so the festivals are getting filled with, and so it should be, I understand. So I'm waiting for my spot so I can get in. We got Wacken, which is great. Wacken Festival in Germany this year, which is a big one. That's going to help. But, and quite a few in Slovakia and Czech Republic. I did a few in the UK last year. So it's coming along, but very slowly at a slow
Yeah, since you're talking about, like other locations and whatnot, I do the NAMM show, of course, we're getting ready to do NAMM show. I also do the Dallas International Guitar Festival.
Wow. When is that?
That is in May. It's always right around Cinco de Mayo. So this year,
coming
I think it's coming up fast. But that's a place you might consider making an appearance or even booking. They have like Eric Johnson performs there.
Yeah.
As well. And this year they're having Orianthi perform there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like, you might want to give them a call and,
that's the other thing that part of the process it baffles me, to be honest, because without sounding pretentious, I know a lot of people, Claudio, a lot of people. I've been around, you hang out long enough, you meet a lot of folks. And I have also my old Rolodex numbers that you can't imagine. But to get from point A to B to C, that's the hard thing, because especially when you're trying to promote your solo thing, again, because it's not on the map, people go, well, Marco, from this band, that band, what's your show consist of? And I'm going, well, check out my new music. And they go, well, there's nothing familiar there. Can you do a couple of songs from Thin Lizzy? Can you do a couple of songs from Whitesnake? Can you do a couple of songs from the Daisies? Can you do Nugent? Can you do La La? I could go on down the list.
The trio.
And even because I was talking to somebody last night, they know that I worked with Dolores O'Riordan, right? From the Cranberries, who rest in peace.
Oh yeah, I remember.
God bless her soul, man. I love her to death. Even then, the connection is that could you do some Cranberry stuff? And I'm like, guys, I'm a session guy. I get hired to do this. I'm not, it's hard to explain, but I understand their point. Their point is they want to sell tickets. It's a business. But I feel like there's a very thin line where if I start crossing that line too much, that's what I'm going to get labeled for. So I choose to go with the latter.
Yeah. Well, Marco, right now, between your release, Viva La Rock, and the new one, New Direction, you've now got a very full, set of music to perform at concerts. So you've got a powerful, high energy set. So I would, from now on, I would be saying, yeah, I do session work, but I'm Marco Mendoza, artist.
And that's been, I'm glad you say that, because that's the horse that I'm riding, bro. And I'm going to try and ride it to the sunset.
The other show that you need to check out, since you travel a lot, is I also do the Guitar Summit show in Mannheim, Germany. And yeah, that's in September. And that is now the premier show, because Music Messe is kaput, as the Germans would say. Music Messe is gone, guys. It doesn't exist anymore. Guitar Summit has now taken over as the premier show over there. And
there's one in Barcelona too.
Yeah, there you go.
Started this year.
Yeah, it's held in Mannheim at the Rosengarten, and it's in a 4-story building. So it's not spread out like Music Messe was. It's like in this one building on multiple floors, and I see everybody there. I go there and I see Phil X is there, you know, quite a few other people, and they Thomas Blug, if you know Thomas Blug, and,
Yeah.
and they perform. They perform. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Attention guitar players, join the thimble slide revolution and free your slide finger. The thimble slide is a mini guitar slide designed to be worn on the tip of your finger, about 3/4 of the way down your fingernail. When worn there, you can still bend your finger, and most importantly, it's allowing enough of your fingertip through so you can press the guitar strings. The thimble slide is larger at the back and smaller at the front, so it follows the contour of your finger. So when you're wearing the slide, it's not loose or rattling around on your fingertip. This also allows your other fingertips in nice and close for playing. The sizing gap allows you to make the slide a little bit larger or a little bit smaller for a nice custom fit. So while you're wearing a thimble slide, you can, of course, use it as a slide. But more importantly, it allows you to still fret the strings so you can play the guitar. You can play chords. You can play lines while wearing it. You can bend strings with your ring finger. You can drag your fingertip across the strings if you need to. You can do pull-offs, hammer-ons. So there you go. You can actually still really do all the things you need to do to keep playing guitars like that. With its patented shape, you can slide and fret while wearing the thimble slide. Visit thimbleslide.com. That's thimbleslide.com.
Last year, in 20, I had an agency in Germany that was booking me, and we managed to get invited to the Wacken cruise, which is supposed to happen in 20, right? I started working with them in 19, the end of 18, but I was busy with the Daisies. So anyway, so we have the Wacken cruise booked. It didn't happen until last year. So I go there. My drummer forgot his passport, couldn't get on the ship when we took off in Germany, and Bremen, Germany, I want to say, yeah. And so the most important show, one of them, I've done a few festivals. One of them, I really wanted to get in with the Wacken family, right? And so I'm there without a drummer. The guitar player is there, but I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? My point is this: I plugged in the computer. There was hundreds, and it was the biggest show poolside. It's like one of the first days, right, of the cruise, which is, you know, where everything's happening. And so I get announced, and I'm like, I get on the mic, and I say, guys, listen, I have to be really honest. My drummer forgot his passport. I'm here without a band, so I'm gonna plug in my helper here, my MacBook Pro, my Trio MacBook and Pro, and I'm gonna play some songs from my new releases. I hope you like it. And let's just say, long story short, again, without sounding pretentious in any way, it went off so well. They went, whoa, they dug it, man. And so I got invited to the Wacken thing this year. Cool. So I do a lot of that. My point being is that, yes, I can go to these places like and plug in my computer and tell little stories and talk about my music, and people seem to dig it, you know? So
absolutely, yeah.
So I do that. So I would appreciate it if when we're done, we could talk on the side and
man.
Exchange info. The Dallas thing is important. I'm sorry to interrupt, but my biggest mission right now is to focus in the U.S. We did a study, and we found out that most of my fans or people that really dig what I'm doing come from the U.S. So it would be smart to kind of start focusing on the U.S. market, but it's the hard one, man. It's just a hard one.
Yeah, I got to say, just real quick with people listening. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we started the Rock Music Alliance was for 20 years, when I travel around, I hear people saying, "Oh, rock's dead, rock's dead." Rock is not dead. It's like for whatever reason, the the pop culture or whatever, it's like they just decided to not promote it anymore,
Yeah.
but it is alive and well and growing. There's young players coming up that are phenomenal, and
Tons.
yeah, all you have to do is just turn on Instagram and look up guitar players, and there's unbelievably talented and skilled people rocking in all kinds of bands. And that's not even including Europe. And you go over to Europe, and what's really popular these days is what they're calling symphonic rock over there, and it's incredible. So it's rock is alive, growing, and it's in multiple areas.
Yeah.
Here in the States, we like our rock a little harder. It's
Yes.
what I'm seeing. So a little more hard edge. I call it alternative metal is kind of big in the US. It's
Yes.
darker.
Yeah.
And also people just like to have fun. Like when I'm in Texas and driving around, I hear a lot of Van Halen, and I hear a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Absolutely, man. It's one of those things where
What about
yes,
Take
sir.
It to the Limit? Take It to the Limit. That song. I was listening to it. That's from the new album, right?
Yeah, well, it's from the previous one.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. It is. Oh, the story that I wanted to. What about Take It to the Limit? You brought me back. That's what it was. I deviated. So when we started, like we did Viva La Rock, it's a little story. Viva La Rock, when we got together, the first song that came out of Soren and me, within half an hour, boom, Viva La Rock. We sent it to the label because they wanted to see, what we're doing, and they went, "We love it. That's going to be the title." La la la. And they started talking about shooting video and the cover, everything. Like the same thing happened with Take It to the Limit. It was like Soren and I are looking at each other and going, he was beat up, I was beat up. We're in between dates and travel, and it was like, man, what is it about us? We always take everything to the limit, man. We always push it. And that was bing, so the bell rang, and then that's our title, man. Let's go there. And then the riff came out, and perfect. So we send it to the label again. They go, perfect, great. That's the title, la, la, la. That's going to be the name of the album. We shot a video before we left in December. We did a Christmas thing. They started playing, promoting it, and then it lost steam. It lost a lot of the wow factor, if you will, the surprise thing. So we booked dates, Take It to the Limit dates. The album's going to come out in 20. It didn't happen. 21 didn't happen. So by the time we were looking at it, 22, a few years had gone by, and we decided, new direction. Let's go. We kind of dig that. And there's a good message behind it. And this is what the world needs right now. Think about who we are, how we can make a difference in our own little circles, life, in our worlds. And so that was a message. And I dug it, man. And with no budget, we shot a little video quick yeah, it was shot with a phone, no budget. And we did it in, where were we? We were in Scotland. Yeah. Edinburgh, Scotland, just before a gig after sound check. And you can see me, I'm all fried and all toasted. But the idea was to get the message out there. This is the video, this is the song. And so that's what happened with that thing too. So we're just, as you can tell, guys, we're maneuvering, and we're like, we're pretty much surfing the wave, man, wherever it takes us. We're trying to get to the beach,
Yeah, I got you. Cool.
Yeah. You can have you can have so many great music, but you need that person that will do all the dirty work,
Yes.
Make sure,
So I'm in conversation with quite a few things. There's something going on in Europe where after so many years, I have some people that really want to support what I'm doing, my solo career, and we're putting some shows together where we're trying to get some of my friends, people I worked with in the past, to come in and show and play with me and all that. So there's a good vibe. That's there's a good bunch of people that want to support it however they can, and so we'll see where it goes, man. But
gotcha.
Shows like this, Cole, this is a big part of it. You know that.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. Well,
No,
like
it's
I say,
very,
that's one reason we founded the Rock Music Alliance is I just kind of got irked up with people saying rock was dead. It's like, it's not dead. And I mean, so what we're trying to do at the Rock Music Alliance is shine a spotlight on the new music that's coming out in rock,
yes.
metal, and progressive rock music, just because I want to show people it is not dead, and look at all the
Yeah.
great stuff going on.
It's true.
You know,
True. Very
yeah.
true.
And
go ahead.
I was saying we're coming up to the end of our time, and in a short time, we have time for a few more questions. But I wanted to ask.
I'll try to keep them short. I know I'm
okay.
I know I like to talk.
That's good. But
Sorry.
Viva La Rock is the name of your album that was in 2018, I think, released, right?
Yes.
It's also the name of the song. And I also heard that you were considering calling your band Viva La Rock. Is that happening, or are you just going to go with Marco Mendoza?
Marco Mendoza right now, the concept is to create a vibe. There's a few festivals in Europe that are taking over. They're calling it Viva La Rock Festival, featuring Marco Mendoza and friends. But they're going to jump on that wagon. And I'm going, why not? Marketing, blah, 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 promotion. It'll promote my album, blah, blah, blah. I'm going, yes. So the idea is, and what I was talking about previously is, I have a few agents in Europe that want to, they want to support that. They want to make it an evening, of it. And if we can get the right budget going on and the right shows available, it'll be like that. It'll be like a little journey through my career, talk about this, start here, start there, and do a few numbers from this band, that band, and all that. I'm trying to focus on doing material on stage that's either been recorded, it's on a DVD, and previous tracks that are classic rock and roll tracks that I've been lucky enough to be part of live, because that's a storyline, So, and there's a book, by the way, that I would like to mention. It's called Showtime. You go to marcomendoza.com, that kind of talks about that story line, where I've been, where I came from, Tijuana, San Diego, and all the bands along the way. Bill Ward, Edgar Winter, Blue Murder, Tom Sykes, Thin Lizzy, Nugent, and so on and so forth. And that book seems to be doing well. People are interested, So, yeah. So it's an ongoing, the answer is there's an ongoing project that it might end up there, Viva La Rock, or Casa Mendoza. It's another option, the House of Mendoza.
Or I might recommend Marco Mendoza and Viva La Rock.
Yeah, that's where people are kind of leaning that way.
Keep your name out there, Marco.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying, bro.
Yeah, and also keep hammering your own music. You've got enough music now. Like I say, you're totally established as your own artist. So I'd keep pushing that. Keep pushing that.
Thank you. For the California folks, I'm doing a show at you go to marcomendoza.com. Everything's posted, but I'm doing a show at Alba's showroom in San Pedro, coming up here in April. When is it? April? God, I just booked it. April 22nd. So please make it. It's a nice little venue, and you'll get a sample of what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I got to mention, you've I'm sure you're probably aware of this, but I mean, the people out there may still need to become more familiar with Marco Mendoza's music. But amongst musicians, you've attained like a legendary status. You're not quite an icon, but I mean, we all know who you are, and we all know that you have such a variety of styles, that you're able to play jazz, fusion, anything, and so just want to mention, you're at that point right now. I got to mention it, just keep pushing. You're an artist, and you keep pushing your stuff out there. Yeah.
I also have a family and have to eat.
Yeah.
I gotta pay the mortgage, bro.
Yeah.
You can call it Tu Casa es Mi Casa, Mendoza.
Yeah, there we go.
I like that, Now, how about a quick update on the band Iconic, which you were also a part of?
Yeah, well, we're talking about going into the studio and recording the follow-up album. What a pleasure, man. I mean, these guys are obviously, at the top of their game. They have the credit from whatever, Michael Sweet, that was my first. I met him before. We were in quite a few festivals together. Great people. But I met him personally. We got to hang, fell in love with the cat, his wife. Everybody was really cool. Joel, I knew Joel from way back. And so we got the hang, and Tommy and I go way back. Nathan, wow, what can I tell you? What an amazing singer. So when I got the call from Frontiers, they told me, well, you know, Joe, Michael, and Nathan are working on a project together with Alessandro Vecchio, and they don't have a bass player or a drummer. We thought of you. You'd be perfect for this. And I said, I always say this, and I'm not being finicky or whatever, sketchy. I said, well, send me the music because I want to see, you know, if it's something you can. And as soon as I heard the first track, I'm like, boom, I'm in. So I called Tommy. We got involved, and pleasure, man. The tracks are great. The playing is great. It's a whole different level. And so now they want to do a follow-up, and hopefully we'll get to go out and play behind that, you know.
Awesome. And for our listeners, you know, watching and listening, I just want to put all the names in one sentence. So Iconic is the band that Marco's in, along with Michael Sweet, Joel Hoekstra, Tommy Aldridge, and Nathan James. Quite a lineup.
Yes, man. And everywhere you look, it's like full on, man, on fire. It's a trip.
Yeah.
So we had a blast.
Thinking of Joel Hoekstra, just a minute, I got to ask, would you consider doing the Trans-Siberian Orchestra gig?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. That's been a lot of my friends are doing it. And they have nothing but great stuff. They have a blast. At that time of the year is perfect. I love songs, and I grew up listening to Nat King Cole, man, the Christmas song. Chestnuts roasting on, you know, la la la. So I got chills because my mom used to play all this Christmas music. So to be able to be part of that, sure, man, it would be awesome, you know. Yeah, so we'll see what happens in the future, man. You never know.
Yeah, I would too.
I'm getting some crazy calls, Cole. Like, you know, like the call from Neil to do the Journey thing was out of nowhere. It just came boom, you know, and which was amazing. Big surprise. Randy couldn't do it for some reason. Something was going on, and I came in and I got the hang and played the big shows. There's a DVD. I don't know if you're aware of it. Lollapalooza just came out. Journey, Lollapalooza live, and Journey Through Time, also live. That just came out. Check it out.
So
Great
Greg
stuff,
Rowley's playing?
Greg Rowley?
Greg.
Yeah.
He's playing.
Yeah. So that's another story. That's another interview because Greg, I mean, it was such an honor to meet him and all that. And I told him, bro, I listened to all your stuff, the Santana stuff. Being in Tijuana, it was a big deal, man. You know, Carlos Santana, Mexicano, making it big. And the music was so big and beautiful.
Yeah.
And, you know, his playing was such a big part in his singing of those albums. So, yeah, we hit it off really well. And we right away, man, we got together and started recording and doing some things. So that's something that might see the light in the future. We'll see what happens. But great, man. It's been a great journey, bro. No pun intended, but my career has been full of highlights, and I get asked often, so what's the highlight of your career? And I'm like, wow, there's so many, and it's still coming.
Yeah, there's still more. You still got some good years coming up left. So
yes.
Yeah.
El trio.
Yeah. I know. We are talking about that, and hopefully we can put it together here in the near future. We're talking about that. There's a few details that need to be worked out, but a lot of people all over the world, without exaggerating, all over the world, and I travel literally all over the world, people love that project, that trio thing. And they have the CD and they hear it live, and the whole thing is like big fans. It's a bit of a cult kind of vibe, you know? It's on the radar, but off the radar. And a lot of musicians dig it. So yeah, we had a blast, man. So that's when we met, right, Claudio?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You come from a musical family. I wanted to ask, did your folks get to see your success and get to come to your concerts? Are they still with us, or how did that all go?
Well, my dad was he was the dad that got the van and got the amps for us and for my brother and me, and he used to take us to the gigs because we weren't old enough. I was 15 when I started doing gigs, and he was very encouraging, and very loving and supportive, because he wanted to keep us. He wanted to keep us out of trouble. I remember him saying that clearly many times. And he was right. But my grandma came and raised us when my parents separated, and she brought her piano. She's the reason I do music, because she was a teacher, piano teacher, classically trained. And that's where I developed, listening skills and learning harmonic stuff and melodies. And she was listening to the classics, Chopin and all the greats. And so my ear developed. I got an interest for music, and then my brother got a guitar for his birthday, because I was the middle child. I never got anything. Not complaining, but so the guitar was there, and I found that I could grab the guitar and go hide somewhere and learn at my own pace. The piano, you're too exposed, My grandma used to hear, "That's a D flat," and come in and do the ruler thing. And so I was like, oh, no, that's not for me. So the guitar became my friend. And after learning 3 or 4 or 5 chords, I realized I could play a lot of songs, a lot. TR was the big band then, and so I cut my teeth with that. And so that was the beginning. So yeah, my father clarinet, but he didn't follow the things, but he was very supportive. My mom was a professional singer. They had a few hits down in Mexico. And so that's where I came from. Absolutely. Both my mom and dad are passed away. My grandma passed away quite a few years ago. But my father got to see some pretty amazing stuff. He was very proud. Very, very, very proud. I don't want to get emotional, but he says, "I knew you had something in you. You were going to go." I was the kid that, my parents would say, "You got to get something under your belt, like get a career. Music is a hobby. Do that." But, and I said, "No, music is my thing. And I got into a lot of trouble. In retrospect, now I'm glad I did, and I have a few wounds and scars and all that from being in the business, but I'm glad, man. I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm doing a few shows here in California, soon, April 21st, Alvos, and then June 2nd, the Big Potato again.
Right.
So it'd be lovely to see you guys stopping by. But
yeah, you often play the Big Potato, right?
It's become my place in town, man. I've had a great relationship there with Justin and his dad, and yeah, they make it available. And we played last Sunday, and it was amazing. It's just great. That's the place to play for me. I'm trying to look at other venues. We'll see. Like I said, it's tough, So, yeah, that's what it is, Thank you so much for your time, Cole. I really appreciate it, bro.
All right, man. And for everybody listening, again, check out what we do at rockmusicalliance.com, and do check out the RMA Awards for rock, metal, and prog music. Take care, guys. I'm Cole Coleman, and for Claudio Pesavento, the Rock Music Alliance, and the RMA Awards, thanks for watching and listening. Visit us at rockmusicalliance.com and check out this year's RMA Awards for rock, metal, and progressive rock music.